If shoes can second as necklaces, why can't necklaces second as shoes? All they're going to hear is you purring in the background. That skit might not make a whole lot of sense until you read the book, but leaving it in. Tress of the Emerald Sea, also known as Secret Project 1, is the first book in Brandon Sanderson's Year of the Sanderson. This follows Tress, a young girl window cleaner who falls in love with the Duke's son. This is until he is whisked away and she has to go on a seafaring adventure, hence a pirate hat, to save him. Tress is a fun, whimsical, fairy tale-esque story and is told by Hoyt. I'm just gonna say it. You just get Hoyt. And it's great. One of the reasons Sanderson said he wrote this book was to test out writing in Hoyt's voice, which I thought was really interesting. Eventually we will get a Hoyt backstory book, so this was Brandon sort of testing the waters on how he wanted to write from his perspective. He did say this isn't the sort of tone that he wants his backstory book to be told from, because it's a lot more fun, lighthearted and whimsical, but that was part of the inspiration behind writing this book. This reads very much like a fairy tale story. You have certain tropes and structural choices that just flow like you would expect a fairy tale story. Because Hoyt was narrating, he could go off on these side notes and wee anecdotes. Side notes and anecdotes. Losing my mind, without breaking the flow of the story. And some of these could be really thoughtful and thought-provoking and even philosophical, and some of them were just hilarious. This is a really funny book. Sanderson has played with humour in the past, but this was a different level. I've heard lots of comparisons to Discworld, Terry Pratchett. I have not yet read a Discworld book. Please don't attack me. But that just shows the level of praise he's getting for the humour in this book. It really was funny all throughout. And most of that came from Hoyt. And who'd have thunk it, but the world building was impeccably unique and creative. In this world, the sea is made up of not water, but spores. And not just one type of spores, but many different types of spores. Hence, Tress of the Emerald Sea. She lives on an island called the Rock in the middle of the Emerald Sea, which is a green sea made of green spores. But there are other seas made of other colours and other types of spores that each have their own unique quirks. And when you think that can't get any more creative and bizarre than that, they fall from the moons. It's a Sanderson book, so we expect bizarre, interesting world building, and of course Tress of the Emerald Sea delivers. I love Tress and the cast of characters we got to meet along the way. Watching Tress develop and adapt to all the obstacles that come her way, but still stick to her core fundamentals as a person, is something we don't get to see particularly often, not to this level anyway. Usually we get more drastic changes from the start to the end of a character's arc, but I really feel like Tress just brought something out within herself that was already there, and that's quite a rare thing to find in a book. The side characters were also pretty unique and interesting. They each had their own personalities and little arcs themselves. For how focused this was on Tress and her journey, we actually did get very fleshed out side characters. This is very different from Sanderson's other works. It really does feel like one of Hoyt's stories from the Stormlight Archive or something like that, fully fleshed out to a full-length novel. And we've not had much of this more fairy tale-esque style in the Cosmere either. I could see a lot of readers out with Sanderson's Normal Sphere really enjoying this story, as I know seafaring adventures are something that are pretty niche and there's a big audience for, as well as more fairy tale-esque stories, more light-hearted and fun like this one is. You can start with this book. This can be your opening into Sanderson. He said himself that this could be your first book. However, I feel like having some knowledge of who Hoyt is going into this book really adds to the experience, so I don't think I would recommend this as a starting point. You could, and you would be fine, and it would be an entertaining book because you don't really need to know who Hoyt is. And let's be honest, do we really anybody know who Hoyt is? Do anybody know who Hoyt is? I feel like that needs to be on a t-shirt. However, going in with some background on who Hoyd is and the type of person he is, I think really adds to the experience. However, don't be worried if you're a big Cosmere fan. There are so many nods and wee hat tips, bringing it back to the hat, to other Cosmere references and characters and worlds, and it's really fun to work your way through and make all these little connections. I feel like I'm on like Lost in Discovery Channel, piecing together all these Cosmerisms. It's fun. It's really cool. I also really like the idea of Brandon doing these shorter, more contained Cosmere stories on backwater planets that are completely away from the main conflicts that we get in Stormlight and Mistborn, and just having these more unique, small, stylized stories. And if Hoyd can narrate them, I also would very much like to see more Hoyd narrated stories within that idea as well. Overall, Tress of the Emerald Sea is a delight to read, hits tropes and sticks to familiar structure, but does so with such style and fun that it never really mattered, and for Cosmere fans, the amount of head nods and references to latch onto and theorize is a blast. Highly recommend this to all the Cosmere diehard fans. Sure, they've already read it. The Cosmere fans who have only read a scattering of Brandon's other works, or even if you're just early and you've only read one of his other books, two of his other books, I still think you could pick up Emerald Sea and have a lot of fun. Light-hearted, fun, fairy tale, great character work, amazing world building, hilarious, great narrator. Oh, and you do in fact get artwork throughout the book as well. I read it on ebook because the hardbacks for the Kickstarter haven't been dispatched yet, but even the artwork in the Kindle version is stunning. So I'm really looking forward to seeing the full coloured pieces. So have you read Tress in the Emerald Sea? Do you plan on reading Tress in the Emerald Sea? Do you think this isn't really for me? Or do you think... Let me know in the comments below. I know a lot of people have already put the reviews out for Tress in the Emerald Sea, so I really appreciate you sticking it out to the end. I'm going to reward you with a video of Meg. Okay, bye.